May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's also Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So I decided I would respond to some questions. I'll often get emails from Asian American or BIPOC people who are interested in becoming therapists or mental health professionals or educators. And I don't always have time to respond to everyone, as I actually have a whole bunch of mentees and supervisees of my own. But let's talk about some of the frequently asked questions. First of all, super excited to have BIPOC people, Asian Americans, NHPI people interested in mental health because we definitely have needs. We're very underserved, and it is hard if you've ever tried to find a counselor or a therapist or even a professor who actually deeply understands many of the issues important for mental health in marginalized communities, who actually knows our history, family values, etc. So there's a need, absolutely, for you if you're interested. So some basic tips is really do some research. We're so lucky that there's so much available online these days. You can look at people's syllabuses, their videos, their books, their articles, but really kind of try to look within yourself. What kind of work are you really interested in? Do you want to do research and find answers to questions about what are determinants of health? What kind of issues or concerns are most important? What kind of treatments are most effective? What factors are there in the development of our mental emotional health or child development or aging? So maybe you want to be a researcher or a professor. And if so, you can also read up more about what kind of institution maybe you would want to work in. And you can look up the faculty at different institutions. They're pretty much always online, and see what kind of representation they have and what kind of things they study. You can also read journals to see what's published. So the Asian American Journal of Psychology is published by AAPA, and you can look up the wide range of studies there. Or do you think you want to be clinical, a therapist who works with people? And then you really want to think about, more specifically, what kind of population do you think might be what you're interested in? You want to be open to learning because you might work with a group that you hadn't imagined. Like, I never was interested in working with children and families. However, as I did my clinical training, I started to realize that I did like doing some work earlier in someone's life to try and do more prevention. So I was open to that, and it was a good experience. But I definitely knew that I preferred older population, or I preferred certain life stages. I preferred clinical therapy over research. And you also might want to think about what kind of license or program you actually need. Like, if you're going to invest a whole bunch of money to attend graduate school, you want to make sure that the program is accredited. So that means that the licensure board, when you become a therapist, accepts that this is a quality school that's met criteria. So you're not going to wind up spending money that might not let you do the kind of job you want. So make sure it's accredited. I didn't know what that meant when I applied for grad school. Make sure you think about what type of license you want. Not everyone needs to get a doctorate to do this kind of therapeutic work. If you're interested in neuropsych assessment, certain types of testing, certain work settings, like VA hospitals, for example, there's certain places that definitely they would want you to have a PsyD or a PhD. But there are many people doing excellent therapeutic work all across the country that have a master's degree in social work, clinical social work, or LPC license, or an MFT license. So you can look up what is the type of licensures that are in your state where you will be living, and what do you actually need to do the work you're interested in. Because if you're going to invest a lot of time and money and hours, those of us who are clinicians spend thousands of hours accruing experience before licensure. I want you to make sure you make a really good choice that fits you well. And just remember too that even if we're BIPOC people or Asians, Asian Americans, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, APITA people, it doesn't mean that we don't need to do work on our own cultural humility too. That a lot of us don't actually know all the issues even within our own communities. There's generational differences, there's values differences. So we still have to do cultural humility and reflection and learn to be really excellent therapists for BIPOC communities. So just being Asian doesn't mean we understand the different issues facing even other Asian communities. And we don't want to make assumptions about, even if somebody, for example, was born in Taiwan just like me, even if they immigrated here early in life just like me, it doesn't mean I understand perhaps their religion, their sexuality, their family dynamics, their experiences. So still practicing cultural humility with other AAPIs and BIPOC people. We still have constant work to do. But that said, your lived experiences do matter. It does really help when someone sees a therapist that they don't feel they have to explain every single thing to about what it's like to experience microaggressions or racism or generational difficulties with parents or language gap with your own family because of immigration status, or who knows what it's like to have parents who might have experienced refugee trauma and how that plays out in a family. Your lived experience is an important part of what could make you a really excellent educator or clinician. So just be sure to research carefully. Don't be afraid to change. Sometimes people start a program and they find out that, like, wow, this is not really good professors, it's not for me. It's okay to change. Don't get so caught in sunk cost that you stay somewhere that's really bad for you. And don't be afraid to change careers. I've had the privilege of supervising a few people in Silicon Valley here who made a bunch of money and made a living in tech. And when their kids were grown, they decided they wanted to do something that was interesting and meaningful, and they started a new career and went back to school and got their master's, and they became therapists. So there's no perfect age to do this. So don't feel like it's a rush. If you're still thinking about it and exploring your options, definitely do not feel like you need to make a choice to enter the field of psychology or therapy right after high school, right after undergrad. Absolutely not required. I really think the more life experience you have, the better you are in many ways at supporting the widest range of people and understanding their experiences. So there's a lot of great information that's free. I'll even put, for example, the Psych Show, Dr. Ali Matu, my friend locally here, who has a whole series of videos for people interested in exploring becoming a therapist or working in mental health. There's a lot of need, as we all know, and there's a lot of need for AAPI, mental health professionals, educators, therapists. So hope this is maybe helpful. Hope to see maybe some of you who are watching as colleagues in the future. Definitely feel free to drop a comment and let me know what other mental health questions you have.